I'm an artist, designer, and teacher.
The rich and illustrious history of blacks in America must be shared to show the fortitude, fierceness, and tenacity of a group of people who were brought to this country against their will, sold into slavery, and forbidden to receive an education, and considered 3/5 of a person. Yet they endured and made significant contributions to help America strive. So today we lift every voice and sing. Today we sing a song full of hope and faith that the dark past has brought us. Today, we will celebrate the achievements of African Americans across generations, locally and nationally. Today's program is entitled Young, Gifted, and Black, and we will interview and introduce you to 2 Black Americans who are making a difference. Our first segment, Keeping the Legacy Alive, is built upon the words of the late Dr. Maya Angelou, who said, "Bringing the gifts that my ancestors gave, I am the dream and the hope of the slave. I rise, I rise, I rise." Prepare yourself for the fantastic interview as 3rd grader. Yes, 3rd grader Krista Kennebrew and her grandfather, Mr. Benny Moore Sr., rise and shine.
As students in the I'm a Star Foundation, we know and believe that we are stars. Smart, talented, and resilient students, destined to change the world. Prepare yourselves to be wowed by Krista Kennebrew, who is already on the road to being a game changer. Krista Kennebrew is a 3rd grade student attending R.L. Brown Elementary School. She is the oldest sibling of her brothers, Christopher and Tarzan. Her innovative thinking and caring disposition have resulted in several inspirational ventures. Most notably, she developed and pursued her idea for Reading Divas Mother-Daughter Book Club. In May of 2019, Krista's love of reading encouraged her to invite mothers and daughters to discuss books. The group has since grown to 19 members. The club has endured through a global pandemic and continues to hold book talks. Her sincerity and determination are also evidenced through scholastic honors. This bright and beautiful young lady has received many awards, including All A Honor Roll, Perfect Attendance, and Student of the Month Responsibility Award.
Little Miss Kennebrew enjoys art club, dance, and baking. In April of 2018, her original artwork was recognized in an exhibit produced by Duval County Public Schools. She is inspired to do her best work and provide a positive impact in the lives of others. Krista has accomplished a great deal, but Krista is keeping the legacy alive that was built by her grandfather, Mr. Benny Moore Sr. Mr. Moore is a retired education administrator for Duval County Public Schools, spanning 35 years as a teacher, assistant principal, principal district level administrator, and a history professor at Edward Waters College. Mr. Moore devoted his time at Edward Waters to training future teachers to become the next generation of educators. Mr. Moore, a member of Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated, is a graduate of Savannah State University and received his master's degree from University of North Florida.
The moderator for this session is a junior and National Honor Society member who attends Sandalwood High School. This young lady demonstrates excellence in every way. She is a member of the Amastar Foundation who exemplifies what it means to shine. Please welcome Faith Sampson to the platform.
Hello, I can't wait for you to hear from young Miss Krista Kennebrew and her grandfather, Mr. Benny Moore Sr. Welcome, and thank you for joining us for today's broadcast. Krista, your bio says that you have a passion for reading. With this passion in mind, is this the only thing that encouraged you to go to your parents and ask to start a book club?
Yes,
Okay. What made you decide on the name Reading Divas?
because we read and it's an all girls book club, mother and daughter, and we have conversations about the books and and we get to talk and have conversations.
Okay, that sounds
and have
exciting.
fun.
Where does the Reading Divas meet during the pandemic?
We meet on Zoom every other month. We just did one this month for February, and we read Kamala and Maya's Big Idea. It was about Kamala Harris and her sister Maya when they were kids, and they had an idea to have a playground in their backyard.
Okay, sounds exciting. Mr. Moore, as an educator, how does it make you feel to learn that your granddaughter was forming a book club?
I was delighted because I know that reading is fundamental and it's the key to success. And when she started her Reading Divas Club, it reminded me of her mother. I have 3 kids, and of course, Ladaria was the most prolific reader. So she passed that on to Krista, and I think that's wonderful.
Sounds excellent. Krista, at what age did you have this idea and decided to turn it into a reality?
At 7 years old, and it probably took about a few weeks to turn it into a reality.
Okay. Who inspired you to create this book club?
My mom and myself.
Okay. Did you just want to have that mom and daughter bond? So I decided to create it, or?
Yes, to make the bond stronger between a mother and a daughter, and to have conversations.
Okay. Are the books interesting that you read to, have strong conversation?
Well, one of my favorite books from the book club was I Am Enough. And it's like a poem book. And I love the illustrations.
Really? They catch your eye?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. My favorite book when I was your age was Mr. and Me. It was really good. I like the cover page. I think that's why my mom got it for me. Mr. Moore, I see that you graduated from a historical Black college. What is the most important thing that you gained from attending an HBCU?
The most important thing I gained from attending an HBCU came in the form of the relationships I made there and the friendships. Mm-hmm. I went there with the purpose of gaining an education, and I got so much more. It also helped me to further myself when I left Savannah State to be ready for the world and to come to Jacksonville and then later to be accepted at the University of North Florida. That was quite an ordeal. And I really enjoyed the fact that I was prepared and I was successful.
Yes, sir. Krista, what do you want to be when you grow up?
I want to be a lot of things when I grow up. I want to be a baker, maybe a fashion model, an actress.
Can see it. Your bow is really cute.
A lot. Thank you.
You're welcome. So I read an article on you that you said you designed a book club in order to strengthen the bond between your mother and your daughter. Do you think your book club strengthened other, mothers and daughters within your book club?
Yes, because now we're like, oh, yay, it's a book club again. Yay! I wonder what book we're going to read. I can't wait. I can't wait.
And how many members do you have in your book club?
I have a lot, probably more than 20.
Wow.
Wow, that's a lot. Did it just start with you and your mother?
Yes, it has. So for our first book club, it was just me and my mom, and we read a book, and I had questions, and I had activities with the book, and I was prepared. And that's when we decided that we should invite some of my friends in the book club.
Okay, how does your dad feel about your book club? What does he think?
He was so excited that he was telling all of his friends and everything.
Really, he was really excited. Mr. Moore, if you had one wish for Krista, what would it be?
One wish for Crystal. That's too small. I want her to capture the world and to do everything she can to become the person that she wants to be, because she's young, gifted, and Black. And naturally, since I'm her grandfather, I'm very biased. She is going to be a success.
It's very interesting that you mentioned being Black. Were you ever told that you could not achieve anything because of your race?
Yes, that came up many times. When I was at the University of North Florida, it was a very challenging situation. Most times I was the only person of color in the class, and my master's involved a lot of group work and activities. They always told me that their groups were closed, and the professor would have to put me on a group. And I thought that was limiting in an aspect. I wanted them to freely let me in rather than be told to let me in. And once they let me in, I became the leader of the group. And I made sure that all of our information was succinct and that it was on point. And once I can remember this, we were the last group to report, and I happened to be in the back. And one of the students who was in my group didn't know I was standing behind him. And he's told the other fellow, well, if we don't do good, we can always say who did it. Wanted to blame me for whatever came out that would not have been positive. But as it turned out, the professor said our group was the best group. And get this, they couldn't remember my name. I am the only Black person in that group, and they couldn't remember my name. I was highly upset.
Wow, that's mind-changing. People say that education is key for Black Americans to make progress. Do you agree with that when there are athletes and rappers making millions of dollars and teachers don't even make 1/10 of that?
I do believe that education is the key to success. It is a fundamental right based on the fact that it's a free and public education to begin with. I think money has its place, but if you're not happy doing what you're doing, money is nothing but a barrier. I didn't get rich being an educator, but I was very, very, because I made an impact on the lives of children and students. And that was my whole goal, to be impressive, to let them know that someone cared about them, and to motivate them to the point that they wanted to succeed. And I have an array of students who have been very successful.
Speaking of students, and this question is for the both of you, for the young students who feel like their voices are not being heard, what advice would you like to give them?
You want to go first, Crystal? Or you want me?
You can go first.
Okay, thank you. I think we have to teach them the civics of today. No one teaches civics anymore. And that's why we had a person in the White House who didn't know anything about government. And because of that, some things happened that were sort of not right. So I think we need to go back to teaching civics, let the people know what the three forms of government are, how a bill becomes a law, and all of those other things that are intricate in our democracy. I think we lost a lot of things when we stopped teaching civics, because that gives us responsibility as citizens and let us know voting is fundamental, it's a key in its success. Education puts us on the path, but voting will keep us there.
Krista.
Can you please repeat the question, please?
Of course. For young students who feel like their voices are not being heard, what advice would you give them?
I would give them, don't be afraid and don't think about what other people think about you, because they may just be jealous.
That is possibly true. Mr. Moore, during Black History Month, students of Duval County were protesting about the You Matter Month that was presented by the district. And during the Black History Month, they felt like instead of saying You Matter Month, the Black History, the month of it, should have been appreciated. How do you feel about that, knowing that it was Generation Z that was speaking out?
I was very proud of Generation Z because they learned one basic principle. We can protest peacefully and we have something to say. And guess what? They all stood up and took notice at what those students had to say. They didn't want their Black History celebration watered down by bringing in other attributes. I thought that was fantastic. They were not disrespectful. They were not destructive. They had the basic principles of protest and they let their voices be heard. That is phenomenal. Even though we are not teaching civics, that's one of the principles. Learn how to actively protest and let your voice be heard.
And Mr. Moore, why is it so important to talk about Black history?
It's important to talk about Black history because we don't want ourselves to be repeated. And if we don't practice what has been done in the past and make it available to those in the future, then we're going to make some terrible mistakes. And of course, we don't want to make those mistakes. We want everyone to know that we are aware of our history. We're very proud of our history and the fact that we have been here 200 years plus out of slavery. And look what we have accomplished. Look at the people who've been educated, those who had inventions, those who've done all those wonderful things to make sure that life changes and that we don't sit back, hold our hands and say we are satisfied with the status quo. There's always something evolving that's going to make things better for us. And I was fantastically, I was just great when I saw those kids standing out there in the hallways, walking down the sidewalks and letting everybody know we will not accept what has been given us. This is what we want.
So, Mr. Moore, the Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated comes to the I'm a Star sessions and they teach us about finances and the career paths. I see that you are a member of Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated. How did your fraternity prepare you to take on the roles that you had in the school system?
Well, one of our leading principles is leadership, and we try to help people grow and develop into that role. Many of us come to the fraternity already in leadership roles, and then we further develop that through what we call our training process. And from that training process, we get involved and we're active. I have spoken on several programs for I'm a Star. I've done some things in Black History Week. I had Mr. Hurst to come to my class at Edward Waters and share his experiences with my class. And then I opened it up to our auditorium where we had so many people interested. So we wanted him to share that experience because it was vital that they understood that these things actually happen right here in Jacksonville. Axe Handle Saturday. And of course, that was phenomenal, and they were so intrigued.
I just want to say thank you, and thank you to Krista and Mr. Moore. It has been a pleasure interviewing both of you. You are an amazing family. Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, good morning, everyone. Let's show some love for Miss Krista Kennebrew and Mr. Benny Moore Sr. for keeping the legacy alive. We also want to highlight or spotlight Isaiah Britt, who made his mark in the Flint, Michigan water crisis at just 7 years old. After learning that students at school were afraid to wash their hands, he started a GoFundMe page to raise money for hand sanitizer. In just 2 weeks, he raised $10,000, well exceeding his goal of $500. With the money he was able to help several schools.
Hey everybody, it's Izzy. I just want to thank you guys that we passed their goal. Now we have enough money to give hand sanitizer to all the schools in Flint. And doesn't matter if you're small, doesn't mean you can't do big things. So just give yourself a pat on the back, everybody who donated. So thank you for that, and that's just what I want to say.
Don't forget the name Isaiah Britt, a solution-oriented, game-changing star, smart, talented, and resilient student, destined to change the world. Now, our founder, Miss Betty Burney's favorite quote is from the late Dr. Benjamin E. Mays, who said, "Whatever you do, strive to do it so well that no man living, no man dead, and no man yet to be born could do it any better." This tells me that you can get to right where you're going, starting from right where you are. Our segment highlights two individuals who are living examples of what we're calling Jacksonville's finest, which means they both started in Jacksonville and were prepared to achieve their crafts with high levels of excellence. I am so excited to see this next segment.
Dawn Lopez co-anchors Action News This Morning and Action News Jacks at noon. She is a native of Jacksonville, Florida, and attended school and college in Jacksonville. After receiving her degree from University of North Florida, Ms. Lopez moved to Columbus, Georgia to work on the ABC affiliate WTVM9. Then she was off to WGHP-TV, a Fox-owned and operated station in High Point, North Carolina, where she anchored the investigative and consumer team at Fox 8 News. She moved back to Jacksonville to bring news to the community she cared most about and loved. We can see the beautiful and intelligent Ms. Lopez weekdays as she anchors CBS 47 Action News Jacks This Morning and Action News Jacks at noon. Over the years, she had brought viewers
exclusive interviews on big stories, and helped to get hundreds of children adopted with a special project she worked on for years. Ms. Lopez says that she uses her work to help children who need a voice to speak up for them. That is one of the reasons that Don Lopez is special to the student leaders in the I'm a Star Foundation.
Let me tell you about another phenomenal Jacksonville native who left this city prepared to achieve academically and to compete on the global stage. Dr. Morris, who graduated from Matthew W. Gilbert, which was a segregated high school, left there, went to Howard University, spent his junior year at the London School of Economics and Political Science as a Laureate Scholar, and graduated summa cum laude and Phi Beta Kappa from Howard. Dr. Morris did not stop there. He went on to earn his MA and PhD degree in economics from Princeton University and has been a postdoctoral fellow at Harvard University. How awesome is that?
But wait, it gets even more awesome. Dr. Morris is currently chairman of the board of trustees of his alma mater, Howard University. He is a former member of the board of directors of the Princeton University Investment Company and a former member of the board of trustees of his other alma mater, Princeton University. Dr. Morris is a co-founder and a managing partner of Fairview Capital Partners, Inc.
Guess what? I'm actually standing in front of Dr. Morris' alma mater. This is going to be an amazing interview.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the Zoom platform a sixth grader whose goal is to become President of the United States, Jordan Sanders.
Hi, everybody. I'm Jordan Sanders. Welcome, Ms. Lopez and Dr. Morris. Please say hello to each other.
Morning.
Morning. Let's get started. First, I might ask, how are you guys doing today?
Well, thank you.
I'm doing very well, and I'm even better after having heard Krista Kennebrew and Mr. Benny Moore Sr. Was that amazing?
Yes.
My goodness.
Okay, question one. This is for Dr. Morris. If you could go back in time and change one decision you've made that has affected your life in a big way, what would it be and why?
Wow, what a very interesting question. Growing up in Jacksonville, in addition to being interested in my studies, if you will, as a kid, I was also something of a musician. I was a trumpet player. My father had been a trumpet player. My grandfather on my mother's side played in a number of bands as a jazz saxophonist. My brother played saxophone. I say all that to say that when I went away to college, I put my trumpet aside. And I didn't understand at the time that I was doing it what I was giving up, what the role that music played in my life and what it did for my soul. Now, eventually that came back in some ways. And I was able to express some of the things that I used to express through music in a different way. But if I had to do it over again, I wouldn't have put it down. I'd have kept that dimension of my life alive in a way that I didn't. So,
Do you think you would have became a famous musician?
No, it was very clear to me, and it might have had something to do with my calculations at the time, that I was never going to be Miles Davis. I was a decent trumpet player. I was a competent trumpet player. I knew other trumpet players up close, if you will, and I had a sense of my limitations. But that shouldn't stop you from continuing something if it brings joy to your life. You shouldn't be looking at it necessarily through the lens of competition or how you rate relative to someone else. The question is, what does it do for your soul? And I was too young at the time to understand and appreciate that, quite frankly.
It's good to hear you have a different perspective now.
Well, thank you.
Okay, question 2. This is from Miss Lopez. As a news anchor, what are the key points you try to focus on when you are communicating to the public?
The keys that I try to focus on when I am communicating to the public is work to communicate effectively. What is it exactly that our community needs to know? What's important? Of course, grammar is also very important, but detail as much as I can possibly provide.
Yeah, because in reading class, she's been telling us that one little word can affect a whole sentence.
Well, yes. And in my profession, one word can get you in a lot of trouble. That means you're not effectively communicating, right? And it could also make the difference between your station pulling you in the office and saying, that could have gotten us in trouble. We may have to make a call to the legal office to make sure that we're covered and we're safe. So we have to be very, very careful with our words as we should. And I guess that's a great life lesson. Always be careful with your words. Words do matter.
Do you ever have any problems with your word every now and then?
As a human being, yes. Professionally, personally, just to be honest, yes, sometimes as human beings. And especially when I started early in my career and just kind of getting my sea legs and figuring out exactly what am I doing and how do I work to do this well. And in TV news, sometimes we're learning and we're growing in front of everyone. But the point of the matter is keep learning, keep growing, keep moving.
Mistakes are how we grow as people.
That's how we grow. Absolutely.
Question 3. This is for Dr. Morse. As you progressed in life, how did you know that your career path was the right path for you to take?
What a very good question. I like to think that I have been guided throughout my life by some of the sort of fundamental things I received from my parents. I mean, kind of growing up in my parents' home, the things that they model for my brother and myself. At the top of the list of things that I considered an inheritance, if you will, from them was a belief in a higher power. So that's number one. If you've got God with you, no obstacle can stand in your way. The second thing was, a good name is more precious than gold, right? The third was developing a sense of discernment and having a moral compass so that if you could in life determine in any given situation what the right path was, the wrong path was, you choose the right thing. And the last thing was that there was no such thing as bad work as long as it's honest work. So to go back to your question, every kind of time I've found myself at a point of decision that had to do with how I was going to commit my time and energies, I first consult the inner voice. Am I doing that which my creator would have me do? Am I using whatever gifts and talents I have to be of service? And if I get, if I have the sense that I'm on that, then I know that I'm on the right path. I'm doing what I should be doing. And it's also been clear at times when that was not the case that I needed to make a change. So that's how I would respond to your question.
So do you ever have that feeling like, man, I wish I chose a different career?
No, I can't say that I do. Look, it was interesting to hear young Krista talk about how she looks at things she might become in life and things at this point she thinks about doing. And I think about myself and And Krista, it meant so much to me to have the person who introduced you standing in front of R.L. Brown Elementary School, which is where I went to elementary school. I lived no more than 3 or 4 blocks away from it. It brought back so many memories. But I can remember as a kid at R.L. Brown thinking I wanted to be a naval aviator. There was a time when I wanted to be an engineer. There were any number of things at different points in time that I thought I wanted to do. And those things changed over time as I was exposed to more and more things, and I grew and changed in certain ways. So I've had an opportunity, through work, if you will, even starting as a kid, to do a lot of different kinds of things, a lot of different kinds of jobs. And I took something from each of them. But as I look at the last 30 plus years of my life, it's 37, 38 years now that I've been doing some aspect of what I'm doing now, I wouldn't change anything about it.
Nice to hear. All right, question 4. This is for both of you. You can decide who wants to go first.
I defer to Ms. Lopez.
Okay. Ms. Lopez, are there any daily routines or rituals that you have that help you to balance your work and home life?
Absolutely. I start my day with meditation, even though I'm up at 3 in the morning because I need to be to work very, very early. And but I start my day with meditation. I start my day with praise and worship, just to kind of set the tone for my day. It seems like when I don't, I have to stop and reset, and I have to get that done first. It sets the tone for my day. I, pray. I ask my angels to protect me and help guide me through my day. And when I do, my day just goes so much better. We as people can really mess things up sometimes. And even when we mess things up sometimes, we can stop and say, okay, help me out, Lord. But that's a part of my ritual. Eating well first thing in the morning, getting my vitamins in, getting my water in, that helps. And there are times in the day where I stop to breathe. I've learned that as we get older, we have to almost learn how to breathe all over again, especially as we start doing more, we start creating more. There are more demands on us as people. And I noticed that I started having some problems with high blood pressure. And so that's one of the things that I learned to do to calm myself, to reset myself, and just to be good to myself and to my body. And then I also make sure that I walk or exercise every day. So those are some things that are built into my day that really help out. And quiet time. It's just so important just to spend time with the inner voice. As we just heard, hearing that inner voice, quieting ourselves and listening.
Yeah, I don't have many rituals, but there's one thing I love to do.
I love to
when
hear.
my mom wakes me up, I close my eyes, count to 10, and just think of everything I'm about to do today and just mentally prepare for it.
That is a visualization tool. You're onto something.
Absolutely.
Okay, Mr. Moore, same question.
It's amazing listening to Ms. Lopez talk about the way she maintains her balance in life, because so many of the things she referenced, I share, if you will. I learned fairly early on that what you consume, what you put into your body matters and affects how you feel. So it's important to pay attention to diet. When I wake up each day, the first thing I do is stretch. I do that more now than I did when I was younger, when whatever reasons your muscles seemed more flexible and whatnot, but in any event, I do that. I do an exercise routine each morning. And then after I've done that and gotten myself clean and prepared for work, I go into my office, and the first thing I do is I sit with a little book called The Daily Word. And that is my way of first, as Ms. Lopez referred, centering down. Just that moment of ingathering, if you will. And the meditation is usually, quite short, but it's enough to get me centered and prepared for the day. I also try, and I'm not always successful, at some points during the day when the stress becomes intense, to remember that I need to step away from it, right? And again, for myself, this too, whatever it is, shall pass, and then proceed with a new sense of, I can move forward through this, right? I can get past this. It's not going to destabilize me. So
It's amazing what you can do when you just put yourself in the right mindset.
that's right.
Okay, question 5. This one's for Miss Lopez. What is your all-time favorite news story?
Ooh, do you know how long I've been doing this? Maybe double your age. Oh my goodness, my all-time favorite. Ooh, that is so hard. Why would you do that to me? I've done stories with foster children, and I love telling their stories. I love that they trusted me with their greatest of hopes, but sometimes their darkest of pain. I was always very careful with their stories, and the goal was to share with the community that there are children who are looking for their forever homes. There are children out there who are hopeful and who really need a hero. And I think that's one of the things that I hold close to my heart. That's one of the treasures. That's one of the ways that I've been able to contribute and use what God has given me to help make lives better. And there is, it makes me teary, but there are young people in the community. They are now adults, but I met them when they were your age or younger, and they are in their forever homes with their families, going on to college, starting businesses. And sometimes they'll see me in the store and they'll say, "Do you remember me?" And sometimes it'll take a minute. And truth be told, there are times where in my heart, I'm just like, please don't do this to me right now, because I'm about to be a bucket of tears all over this grocery store. And it has happened, but it's been, that is one of my greatest joys, is my adoption segment.
Do you ever get that warm feeling in your heart after doing that?
All the time. And there's not one that I didn't, before I left them, that I didn't just hold their hand and say a prayer over them, knowing that great things were going to happen for them. That, of course, that was just my prayer. And then to see that it would actually happen, and that we brought hundreds and hundreds of families together, there is no greater feeling in the world. That's such a special feeling. I don't even have the words to explain it. It's just a feeling.
It is always great to make a difference in someone's life.
Always. That's why we're here. Yeah.
Question 6. This one's for Dr. Morse. Have you met Vice President Kamala Harris?
Actually, I have. I've met her on a couple of occasions. At Howard, we awarded her an honorary degree. I believe it was commencement 2018. So there's generally a dinner the evening before with the prospective honorees. I met her on that occasion. I met her before that, actually, in other venues, if you will. But the most recent time I was in her presence was during that occasion, 2018 at Howard University. And she was the commencement speaker.
What do you think of a Howard graduate becoming vice president?
Oh, needless to say, we're over the moon. We're extraordinarily proud of our sister, our fellow alum, if you will. I have to say that we not only, however, take pride just as fellow Howard alums, but the fact that she's a product of a historically Black college and university, period, because many of the things we do at Howard, we also know happens at our brother and sister institutions, throughout the country. And it just, the fact that she's on a platform now and can demonstrate to the world things within our community we've always known. And we've always known that we've had the Benny Moores that we've produced. It's wonderful to have the country now get a sense of someone trained in that environment, educated in that environment, and who is at the top of her game and prepared to contribute to making this a better country. So enormously proud.
I was over the moon when I heard that she was vice president.
Yeah, so were we.
Okay, question 7. This is for Miss Lopez. Has anyone ever told you that you couldn't achieve something? If so, what did you do?
I won't say couldn't achieve. Maybe they said it would be very hard to achieve. I've never been one, however, to be concerned very much about what other people think. I'm very confident in myself. My mother was a wonderful example of that. I've had wonderful examples of that my whole life. I was born and raised here in Jacksonville, and God just put so many people in my life who were not just great examples, but they were incredible when it came to helping me, mentoring me, giving some great advice. And I just always follow my heart. It's very hard to be someone else. That's a lot of work, actually. All I can do is be me. And I've always thought that that was more than enough. Let me just be me. And I believe that it would take me where I would like to be. A lot of people know what they want to do when they grow up, when they're young. I had no idea. I came out of high school, went into college for general studies, and there were just lots of things that I thought I wanted to do. And I think that's the great thing about going on to college and being young, and that's trying different things, talking to different people, getting different internships, asking for help of my instructors. I definitely did that. And it led me to a great place. I found my place. I love words. I love working with words. I love my community. I love, being a part of this community, helping with community events, meeting you all, being with kids and hoping to, just help be a part of your lives. Just like so many were a part of my life in this community, and just give. And it's just led me to a great place.
Because in life, you just got to keep on striving. And one of the only people you need to love is yourself.
Yeah. When you learn that, the doors open up wide. They do.
They do.
Okay, we are now at the 3-minute mark. So I will end with this question for each of you. Everything in life brings a life lesson. What life lesson can you take away from slavery? Who wants to go first?
Dr. Morris?
I think it is difficult for us, no matter the stories we've heard, the things we've read, to understand in a visceral way what it must have been like for our ancestors to endure the horrors, the absolute horrors of slavery, to have been considered property, not human beings, not people. And somehow, in that crucible, to have maintained their sense of joy, to have maintained their sense of connectedness to their creator, to have maintained hope, to have maintained a sense that there were better days to come, to have come through that and then built the things that we as a people have built subsequent to it is just simply remarkable. It is one of the great stories of human history, the indomitable spirit and will of a people. So, look, every day that I set foot on Howard University's campus, and I mean this, I feel and sense the spirit of the ancestors. I know that their spirits are looking over me. I know that they're watching. And I know they're bidding me to do my best during my time to keep it going, to see that it continues to move forward, to prosper and to thrive. My life, Ms. Lopez's life, your life, are so much easier and richer as a result of what they went through. We owe a tremendous debt. I try never to forget it, not a single day.
It's amazing how far we've come in life.
Indeed.
I don't even know what I could add to that, Dr. Morris. I don't even know what I could add. Those are my sentiments. Exactly. We do stand on the shoulders of a mighty people.
That's right.
Before I joined you, I had a sorority meeting. I am a proud member of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated. And we actually had a Black History Month piece as a part of our chapter meeting. So that's why I'm dressed the way I am right now, and was proud to come on and turn my Zoom on for you, dressed the same way to offer that. Resilience is what we have learned. How dare I ever complain when there was so much blood spilled and tears cried and hope given, just a plead for us, the generations after. I always just think to myself, how dare I ever complain about getting up early in the morning to serve? You know, we are our ancestors' biggest dreams. We really are. And my heart is full. It's full. There are so many times where older person will stop me sometimes and hold my hand and say, I watch you and I just think to myself, who would have thought? Who would have thought that you would have the opportunity to do what you do? So there are some long days. I do what I can when it comes to literacy. I think of the ancestors a lot when it comes to creating in this earth and trying to help create change as well. I think about them. I think about the responsibility that we each have. I think about my responsibility to you, Jordan, and to all of the other children in the community. They did it for me. We have to do it for you. And that's being that example and making sure that you know that you are supported and that you are a dream come true too. My heart is full.
I'm not gonna lie, I think I just shed a tear there.
I am too.
Okay, is there anything you want to say to the kids out there before you go?
Ms. Lopez, I'll defer to you and I'll come after.
Dream big, go hard. Ask for what you need, ask for what you want, be a part, show up to the table, make room at the table, build a table. We got you.
Each of us comes into this life with two extraordinary gifts, the gift of your mind and the gift of your time. There are no limits to what your mind can conceive. Literally, no limits. Your time is finite. You don't know the time of your coming or going. You simply know that at some point it will end. So what you do with your time matters, right? What you do with that time in educating your mind, training your mind, allowing your mind to roam and to dream determines what you do with your life. So dream big. You know, I think someone quoted Betty Burney as saying, you know, one of her favorite quotes is from Benjamin E. Mays. One of mine is also from Benjamin E. Mays. Not failure, but low aim is the sin. Dream big, dream large. And before we get cut off, young Mr. Sanders, I want to just tell you how much I've appreciated spending this time with you and being interviewed by you. You're amazing. I also want to say the same for Faith Sampson, the young lady who interviewed Krista Kennebrew. Just so impressed with you all. This is an amazing program. You're so fortunate to have someone like Ms. Burney and others spending the time that they do in a program like this. It's wonderful. So thank you for having invited me to be here today, quite frankly. You've made my day.
Indeed you did. Can I offer one more thing?
Go ahead.
I know that you're wrapping it up. One more thing. This is the poem that I read this morning for my sorority member. I'd love to share it with you if I can very quickly.
Go ahead.
Life is Fine by Langston Hughes. I went down to the river. I sat down on the bank. I tried to think, but couldn't. So I jumped in and sank. I came up once and hollered. I came up twice and I cried. If that water hadn't been so cold, I may have sank and died. But it was cold in that water. It was cold. I took the elevator 16 floors above the ground. I thought about my baby and I thought I would jump down. I stood there and I hollered and I stood there and I cried. If I hadn't been so high, I would have jumped and died. But it was high up there. It was high. So since I'm still here living, I guess I'll live on. I could have died for love, but for living, I was born. Though you may hear me holler, though you may see me cry, I'll be dog, sweet baby, if you gonna see me die. Life is fine, life is fine. So I offer to you, life is so fine.
Amen.
Live it big.
I don't know if I've mentioned this. My goal is to become president of the United States.
Fantastic. I hope I'm alive to see it.
Vote for me in 2040.
You can do it. You can do it.
That's right.
No, for real. Thank you for joining us. This has been a great experience.
Thank you for having me.
Absolute pleasure. Thank you for the privilege of being here. Is it okay to sign?
In the Star Foundation, Ms. Burney pushes us to take it to the turquoise. One day while she was at the beach, she asked God what he wanted her to do with the kids in I'm a Star. He told her to look out at the water and urged her to go beyond the brown and murky water and the blue water. He told her to look as far as she could, and the water was turquoise. He then told her to make sure that every child in I'm a Star goes as far as he or she can. So when we have a project, all Ms. Bernie has to say is, take it to the turquoise, and we know to give it 1,000%. For our final interview session, we will meet two gentlemen who have taken it to the turquoise in a segment that we actually call Taking It to the Turquoise.
The Honorable Keith L.T. Wright is the Director of Strategic Planning at DHC Law Firm. Mr. Wright's focus is on assisting clients in their long-range strategic planning goals. Mr. Wright is also the current leader of the New York County Democrats, a position he has held since 2009. He served as a member of the New York State Assembly for 24 years and served as co-chair of the New York State Democrat Committee from 2012 to 2014. A lifelong Harlem resident and a graduate of Rutgers Law School, this distinguished gentleman has made strides in increasing workers' rights, criminal justice reform, helping small businesses, and creating affordable housing for not only his district, but also all of New York. In 2012, he was asked by Governor Andrew Cuomo to co-chair the New York State Democratic Party. As chairman of the New York State Assembly Housing Committee, he was responsible for an increase of $1 billion in bonding authority for the creation of affordable living in New York City. In his hometown of Harlem, Mr. Wright has developed and renovated numerous properties, creating hundreds of units of affordable housing while also growing small businesses.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the Zoom platform an 8th grader who always brings her A game.
It is my honor
Tiffany
to tell
Powell.
you about Mr. Rodney Hurst. I'm a Star students have had the honor of this award-winning author personally inspiring and motivating them. This civil rights activist is the author of 3 award-winning books. It Was Never About a Hot Dog and a Coke, Unless We Tell It, It Never Gets Told, and Never Forget Who You Are. Conversations about racism and identity development, which he co-authored with Dr. Rudy Jameson. At age 16, Mr. Hurst was the president of the NAACP's Jacksonville Youth Council and was one of the leaders of the 1960s sit-in demonstration. It was during that he tells a riveting account of Axe Handle Saturday. His book, It Was Never About a Hot Dog and a Coke, is the winner of more than a dozen awards, including the 2008 U.S. National Best Book Award and first place Gold Medal Award for Multicultural Nonfiction. What is so phenomenal is that his leadership as a teenager during the Civil Rights Movement is also the subject of a chapter in scholastic book 10 True Tales, Young Civil Rights Heroes. In addition to his involvement in the Civil Rights Movement, Mr. Hurst served 2 four-year terms on the Jacksonville City Council. He was the first Black person to host a television talk show in Jacksonville on the PBS channel WJCT. Mr. Hurst speaks extensively on civil rights, Black history, and racism.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the Zoom platform an 8th grader who always brings her A game, Tiffany Powell.
Mr. Hurst and Mr. Wright, welcome to the I'm a Star Zoom platform. I am so excited to speak with you.
Thank you, Tiffany. I am excited to speak with you also.
Thank you, Tiffany. Good morning. Thank you for allowing me to be here.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. I'm sorry.
Good afternoon.
Well, let's get started. This is a question for Mr. Wright and Mr. Hurst. You have heard my star colleague Maya explain about taking it to the turquoise, where you push beyond where you are and you give 1000%. Tell me about your turquoise moment.
Brother Hurst, it's all yours.
My turquoise moment started when I was age 11 in my American history class taught by a Black male teacher, Rutledge Pearson, who basically told us to leave the book approved for Blacks in this Negro junior high school as part of the Negro division of the Duval County school system. This is 1955, during these days of abject segregation and racism. He taught us American history and not the slanted viewpoints of racist white textbook authors and historians who only saw fit in our American history book to include the names of George Washington Carver and Booker T. Washington. He taught us the legacy of who we were and who we are. He taught us how to understand what was happening to us during these days of segregation. His motto was, freedom is not free. He said this to us. Freedom is not free. If you're not a part of the solution, you are a part of the problem. And he encouraged us to join the Youth Council NAACP, where he was the advisor to that youth council. That was my turquoise moment. And that started me on the road to understanding who I am, understanding the legacy of Black history and the civil rights movement.
That's very, very interesting, and I'm glad that you were able to share that moment with him. Mr. Wright?
Yeah, if I'm understanding, first of all, good afternoon, and thank you so much for allowing me to appear with you this morning. It's as if I'm getting my soul fed early on this morning on a rainy Saturday morning here in Harlem, USA. If I'm understanding you're taking it to the turquoise definition, it's always striving, no matter what, trying to go as far as you can, as deep as you can. And you have to, I guess, relate that definition to yourself. Well, I'd always like to think that I'm trying to always take it to the turquoise, if you will, no matter how old you are. It looks like Mr. Hurst and I are men of a certain age, and I think we're still always striving to take it to the turquoise. Yes, we have moments in our lives where we have to dig down deep and give it 1,000%, and you dig so much and you try and work so hard that you just can't seem to work anymore. Those moments have come and gone in my life on many, many occasions. At a young age, I became interested in politics. I remember seeing a man about town by the name of Adam Clayton Powell Jr., who was a very famous congressperson here in Harlem and beyond. And I just automatically gravitated toward politics. And when it came to the various offices that I ran for, whether I won or whether I lost, because I've done both, you have to take it to the turquoise. This is something, it's a deeply personal thing that you're doing. A lot of times you'll feel as if you're by yourself, and the rest of the world is either just watching or trying to help you to not succeed. And taking it to the turquoise could be, it's relatable to anything that you do, to any field that you go through. Whether, Ms. Powell, you want to become a doctor, whether Mr. Sanders wants to become the president of the United States, we will all, I guess, experience these taking it to the turquoise moments. And the bottom line is, you can be your own worst enemy, and don't ever let anyone tell you that you cannot do something And it was something that, and I think Dr. Morse said it, that you can do anything that you want to do. You come into this world with two things, with your mind and your time. And if you dedicate your mind and your time to one thing, you can take it to the turquoise and beyond.
Thank you. Although both of you have different turquoise moments, it is very empowering to know that you had it at a young age. And although I may not have my turquoise moment at a young age, I hope that is as very special as you all were.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Next question. You have seen Miss Dawn Lopez on TV, and you have seen many successful Black women, Black men, African Americans in many high positions, but you have also seen robberies and deaths and homicides. So, given that, what gives you hope and what keeps you up at night?
Understanding that this is a racist country and a lot of things that we see are not as they appear. This country likes to talk about Black crime and Black lawlessness because this country has always painted the Black community and Black males in particular as being criminals, yet we don't deal with the criminality of white police who have exacted their violence on Black men purely because they're Black men. We have a long way to go in this country. And when Dr. Morse talked about what we have done in 155 years since the end of slavery, it is quite remarkable. A race of people that provided free labor economy for whites in this country, made them obscenely wealthy, and then after they have used us for a free labor economy, they freed us and said, you're free with no compensation for what we have done during that time. And when Black folk talk about reparations, white folk think that's funny. Yet white folk have not reimbursed us for the stolen wages they have taken from us for more than 300 years. Crime happens in this country. I resent the media and white folk acting as if crime is so prevalent in the Black community that Black folk cannot live there, when crime in the white community many times is not reported. We have a lot of work to do, and we have been doing a lot of work in terms of what we have. But I always like to point out to folk, when you talk about drugs and guns in the Black community, we own no shipping lines, we own no long distance freight, we own no airplanes. How do those drugs and guns get into the Black community? So we've got work to do in that regard.
Thank you. Thank you. Mr.
Yeah, yes, absolutely. And I think your question was, we've seen drugs, we've seen robberies, we've seen success. And I think that, it's interesting. You have to take up all of life's experiences, if you will, and you as young people have to determine which way you wish to go. I remember my parents, the philosophy of my parents was to show me any and everything and to experience any and everything that I could experience so that I could make my determination as to what direction I wish to go through. So, and good or bad, I mean, you have to be exposed to stuff. So, I remember when I first got elected to office and I had to go upstate New York, which is a very white community. And I'll never forget watching the news. And I see that white folks were spending time in jail. White folks were getting arrested. I never knew white folks got arrested until I went upstate New York. because all I saw were only Black folks being handcuffed doing the perp walks and such. And so, and I want to agree with Mr. Hurst that, you know, a lot of these times you don't see the bad things that white folks do. We only see the bad things that so-called Black folk do. So my advice would be to, you know, you see everything you can see. You experience everything you can experience. And then you make your determination and how you channel that into positive energy and positive achievement. And then you go forth and conquer.
Thank you so much. Thank you. This is very informative and empowering. Great. So the time is cutting close. So this will be the last.
Oh no.
You have
Yes.
more time. You have time.
We're just getting warmed up.
Yeah, you can ask more.
Yes.
Well, I would like Mr. Hurst, I would like to ask you and Mr. Wright, rather than just talking about Black History Month during the month of February, how can learning more about Black history in school transform America? Because it doesn't seem as though in schools, especially in my school, that we don't talk as much about Black history. So.
Want me to go? Listen, I always felt that slavery, number one, Black history, number two, should be a requirement in each and every school throughout this country. Black history, slavery is American history. If it weren't for slavery, this country would not exist. The definition of capitalism is that you have a cadre of free labor in order to build a country, in order to get an economy going. Yes, we have the greatest economy in the world, but the only reason it's there is because our ancestors provided free labor to this country. Now, I'll tell you this, if you had some folks to give you free labor and do your homework, you would be a great country too, right? You know, I mean, you know, so you gotta look at it at that level. So I was, you know, so I think that Black history and slavery should be a requirement in each every school, because and one of the reasons it's probably not is that it would expose the truth in so many ways. You know, I just recently found out that here in New York, that New York City was probably the largest hub for the slave trade absent South Carolina. And one of the things that made me really reflect on things, when I was a member of the state legislature, that I actually sat in the chair of folks that repealed slavery in New York. Slavery was repealed in New York in 1820. But however, you just couldn't stop slavery right away. Is that, and because if you stopped it right away, it would have a harmful effect on the economy. So what New York did in 1820 is that they said that slavery could go on for another 7 more years. So because almost to create a gradual withdrawal from the slave trade in order to keep New York prospering. I've taken entirely too long. I'm sorry, Mr. Hurst, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Wright. One of the cornerstones of racism is disrespect. Racism was birthed out of the American Holocaust called slavery, where a race of people were enslaved based on their skin color, considered chattel and or property. And this entire institution of slavery was supported by every religious denomination in this country. 1836, Georgetown College, now Georgetown University, founded by the Jesuit priests, They got in trouble keeping the doors of Georgetown College open, and these Jesuit priests, Jesuit means son of Jesus, these Jesuit priests sold 273 of their slaves, realizing $115,000, which translates to $6 million today. Why were Catholic priests owning slaves? 1845, Southern Baptists got together in Augusta, Georgia, and they started the Southern Baptist Convention with the sole purpose of supporting slavery. We don't teach Black history in America in the classrooms because white folk don't want you to know about American history, which I call incomplete, dishonest, and racist. We recognize Christopher Columbus as discovering America, and he never set foot in the continental United States. He was the first slave trader in this hemisphere of the Taínos Indians on the island of Hispaniola. We recognize Paul Revere for riding from Lexington to Concord saying, to arms, the redcoats of the British are coming. That never happened. We recognize Benjamin Franklin as discovering electricity because he put a key on a kite, flew it up in the air, and lightning struck it. That never happened. Betsy Ross did not sew the first flag. 18 of our first presidents owned slaves. 12 of those 18 owned slaves. 8 of the 12 owned slaves while they were in the White House. And we don't talk about that. We talk about Eli Whitney. We don't talk about Dr. Daniel Hale Williams or Dr. Charles Drew or Matt Henson or Jan Matzeliger or Granville Woods or Garrett Morgan or Elijah McCoy. We talk about in American history that is taught in the schools an exclusion of the contribution by Blacks. That's what we teach. And that makes it dishonest. And what happens to young Black students when they walk into a classroom and sit next to their white friends can open a book and read about the contributions made by those who look like them, and Black students cannot read about the contributions made by those who look like them. That is dishonest. I need to know that the writer of The Three Musketeers and The Count of Monte Cristo and The Man in the Iron Mask, Alexander Dumas, I need to know that he was Black. I need to know that Alexander Pushkin, Black, was the father of Russian literature. I need to know that Queen Charlotte, the great-great-grandmother of Queen Elizabeth, the current Queen of England, was Black. I need to know that Ludwig von Beethoven's father and grandfather were Spanish Africans. I need to know that so that I will know not only in American history, but in world history that Africans and those who look like me, Blacks and those who look like me, made salient contributions to this country and to the development of this world. I need to know about the Olmecs, African explorers who taught the Mayans and the Aztecs. I need to know these things, yet I don't know them because they are not taught. And because many white educators don't want it taught, it is purposeful. And until we integrate, as it were, the salient contributions of Blacks in our curricula, our young students today, just like our parents and our grandfathers, will become, or they will stay, educational cripples because they are fed bland and tasteless food that's called gourmet food, and they then serve that to you as if it is American education, and it is not.
Thank you so much. I am so just full right now from the teachable moments that you have taught me. You have always instilled in me beyond this interview that I can do great things and I need to know my history. And right now, I I am blown away. This is a lot of things that I thought were true that are not even close to what I've learned in school. So I will most definitely, from both of y'all comment, Mr. Wright and Mr. Hurst, look at my history books very, very differently. Thank you for your time. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Tiffany.
Thank
And
you.
Mrs. Burney, thank you for the great job. I have experienced and had interaction with I'm a Star celebrities over the years, yesterday at Ribault High School and today, and my ongoing knowledge of the accomplishments of Miss Tiffany Powell. And I am so glad that those of us, Mr. Wright, those of us who are in the twilight of our years, as we start handing off Dr. Morris, as we start handing off Don Lopez our batons, Benny Moore, that we have a number of young, bright young people who we can hand it off to, who will be our future brain trust of tomorrow. I'm excited about that.
Amen.
Mr. Hurst.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Go on.
Mr. Hurst and Mr. Wright, thank you for taking it to the turquoise. Thank you.
Well, thank you. And I just want to say, Miss Powell, I want to thank Ms. Burney for allowing me to share this platform and this forum with Ms. Lopez and Dr. Morse, and especially Mr. Hurst. And, thank you for welcoming me from Harlem, USA. I am not from Jacksonville, but I look forward to getting down there at some point. I have a feeling I may be coming down there at some point. I will tell everybody up here in Harlem about the I Am a Star program. Be assured that I will do that. And I just want to leave you with a couple things. My parents always told me, to question authority. It goes to what Mr. Hurst was talking about. Always question authority. Don't take things just on face value. Always question authority. And I will leave you with one of my favorite quotations from Frederick Douglass. And that is to agitate, agitate, agitate.
Yeah. And this last word from me, Tiffany, as I talk with Ms. Powell, as I talk with a lot of students and Fortune 500 CEOs, I tell them, don't talk about me until you have talked to me. Don't underestimate me until you challenge me, and certainly don't judge me until you know me. Again, thank you for allowing me to, and allowing us rather, to share with you this morning. I am just absolutely blown away with the other persons who were interviewed and the interviewers.
Oh, absolutely.
It has been quite a day for me, and I am very appreciative given this opportunity. Thank all of you, and thank you, my good friend, Betty Burney.
You're so welcome.
Thank you.
Wow, I am truly speechless. But the great Jesse Owens once said, we all have dreams. In order to make those dreams come into reality, it takes an awful lot of determination, dedication, self-discipline, and effort. Those attributes are what we saw today. Little Miss Kennebrew, Mr. Benny Moore Sr., Miss Dawn Lopez, Dr. Lawrence Merce, Mr. Rodney Hurst, and the Honorable Keith Wright. Thank you so much for sharing with us today. Your story deserves to be told, and your achievements are very inspiring. You are indeed the hope and dream of the slave. Special thanks to the student leaders in the Amistad Foundation. We are solution-oriented students who believe that we can change the world. Special thanks to our parents and all of the adults who support us. We want to truly thank Mr. John Christopher, our YouTube and podcast facilitator, and Ms. Carla Jones, our publicist. Mr. Christopher, you are indeed the wind beneath our wings. We will have closing remarks from our founder and executive director, Ms. Betty Burney.
Thank you so much, Maya. But before I give closing remarks, as you said, the wind beneath your wings for the podcast and YouTube group is Mr. John Christopher. Mr. Christopher, can you just please share a few words with them before we close?
I'm proud, I'm excited, I'm ecstatic about all the work and the effort that these students have put in. I've been merely offering a few kindling pieces, and they've turned it into a true bonfire of inspiration, creativity, and expression. I'm so proud of everything you've done, and this has been a fantastic program.
Thank you so much, Mr. Christopher. The goal of the I'm a Star Foundation is to empower students to believe that they are solution-oriented, world-changing, and I do mean that, world-changing stars, smart, talented, and resilient students who are destined to change the world. We absolutely dare them to believe that they are destined to change the world. We also have a goal of making sure that they are able to compete on the global stage. And in order to act on that belief, the one thing that we know is that they have to see possibilities. Possibilities. Mr. Moore, Dr. Morse, Mr. Hurst, Mr. Wright, my beautiful sorority sister, Dawn Lopez, little Krista, today you showed my students possibilities. And for that, I am grateful. So here is my goal in life. When I grow up, I want to be a combination of little Miss Krista Kennebrew and the other little master, Isaiah Britt. Krista, how awesome are you? Let me just share one thing. Last year, for Black History, the I'm a Star Foundation partnered with AARP, and we were doing this series out at the movies with the movie Harriet, and one of the students was not going to be able to make it. And I was in my office, and the first person that came to my mind was Ms. Kennebrew, and I said, I need Krista to come and do this for me. Now, our kids are grades 6 through 12. Krista at that time was in second grade. Krista stepped up to the plate. She answered the questions. She is absolutely a star. Mr. Morris, when you were at Gilbert, I think they used to have a mascot drum major or a mascot majorette. Krista is our mascot. I am going to switch for one moment, switch gears just to say this, that I think that everybody that's on YouTube and everyone needs to hear. There are an untold number of children in schools all over this country who are hurting mentally and emotionally during this pandemic. And it is imperative that we help them understand their resiliency so that they can bounce back and unleash all that inner greatness within them. And as a result, the I'm a Star Foundation is launching its podcast YouTube channel. As a matter of fact, what you've seen today is their first launch of their podcast, but they will have their own podcast show, their own YouTube show. We're also creating an app. And the purpose behind all of that is to empower and give voice to their peers across America. Great. It is imperative that we do that. And so we welcome your help and support in making this happen. I want to thank all of those of you who are viewing on YouTube. Please place your thoughts in the comment section. I would love to share them with the kids. I want to thank the parents of our students. I call on kids to do things. Parents just say, okay, yes, they do it. Thank you for the volunteers and facilitators who come on with us on Saturdays to meet with these young people and to help take them to the turquoise. And finally, to my bold, to my brilliant and bright stars on this Zoom today, you guys are the most amazing 12 through 18-year-olds on the planet. I want to thank those of you who are in the podcast YouTube group, and that would be Maya McLaughlin, a 12th grader, Faith Sampson, an 11th grader, and Dr. Morris. Faith's goal in life, her dream in life is to be a Howard University student. So I'm going to take that time to introduce her later. Valencia Gibson, Jordan Sanders, Tiffany Powell, Javar Collier, John Robinson, Jamal Blackwood. You guys worked, and I am so appreciative. Once again, you have made me proud. I would also be remiss if I did not mention that Akila Pryor, One of our Amastar students, who's in 9th grade, has been crowned the 2021 Royal International Miss Florida Junior Team. And anybody who knows Akila can rest assured that she presented herself with eloquence and confidence like the star she is. Our student closer for the day is Tiffany Powell, but before I do that, I just need to see if our superintendent of schools is on the line. I could not tell whether or not she was able to join us, or she may be joining on YouTube, but I'd just like to thank her for the support that she gives to children every day. And she's a textbook example of grace under pressure and excellence. We always have a student closer, and today our student closer is the one and only Miss Tiffany Powell. But Tiffany, give me a chance to spotlight you, and I will do that. Thank you all so much. After Tiffany ends, we will close. All of my stars, I need for you to remain on the remain for one moment. Tiffany, it's on you.
Good afternoon.
Afternoon.
In the words of the iconic Oprah Winfrey, every time you state what you want or believe, you are the first to hear it. It's a message to both you and others about what you think is possible. Don't put a ceiling on yourself. That is what we witnessed here today. To everyone viewing on this Zoom platform and those viewing on YouTube, our message is simple. Dream, believe, and then give 1000% to achieve. Remember our I'm a Star motto. Take it to the turquoise. No brown murky water and no blue water for us. We are going all the way to the end of the horizon. Why? Because we can. Just like our ancestors, we will use the word no as vitamins, and we will be prepared to move forward when we hear the word yes. Today's Black History program was all about possibilities. I will close with this powerful quote from Jeremy Kent. He said, God has already equipped you with the skills you need to achieve your goals. If you just try, work hard, take control of your destiny, remain true to yourself, and believe it is possible, you will have unlimited power to achieve the impossible. Thank you again for joining us. Please do what you can to change the world.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you
so much.
All of the participants. Have a wonderful, wonderful rest of your day. And remember, in Jacksonville, Florida, we have some stars. They're bright, they're smart, they're talented and resilient. And thanks to the pandemic, there's one good thing that came out of the pandemic. We now have students on from Ohio. We have them on from North Carolina, from Georgia, and other parts of Florida. We need some New Yorkers, Mr. Wright, and we need some people from Washington, D.C., Mr. Morris. Thank you all. Have a wonderful day.